I used to have a blue check, and I will not pay for it. I won't.
Welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. My name's Ajay Patel.
And I'm Kim Horcher.
We are on episode 2.
That's right.
How you feeling this week?
Good, especially because we're talking about misinformation, which is something I feel strongly about. I'm against it.
In the news, in a 6-3 vote, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that it is now lawful for the government to request the removal of misinformation from all sites.
They can request it. That doesn't mean they're going to do it.
So do you think there will be a lot of success behind that?
I think it'll be honestly minimal. I would like to see more responsibility taken by social media sites for the spread of misinformation.
Yeah.
For instance, Facebook has been hugely impactful and not positively for the truth. And it wants you to click things. It doesn't care if it's truthful or not. They're agnostic to the truth. They're more interested in getting those clicks and getting your information and your attention.
And we were bound to kind of see this with regulation, right? A lot of news outlets, let's say you're the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, you have to abide by certain rules where I can't post certain things that is not true. Social media is a whole different animal. We never saw it like this.
And then certain social media, let's say users can purport to be trustworthy news sites, and they don't have the journalistic ethics that they have to abide by. They can do whatever they want. So, you'll see very sensationalist headlines, outrageous claims. And then if it looks like it's truthful and it looks like it's legitimate, people will take it as such. And that's scary.
Yeah, the news isn't even what's actually true. It's just, are there enough people saying it at this point? Therefore, I'll believe it.
I think people like their biases fed.
Yeah.
And I think people like feeling like they are correct in whatever they feel is the prevalent way of thinking. But you have to remember that these companies, they don't care if it's factual. They're not built to care about the truth, to care about facts, to care about altruistic measures at all. They exist to make money.
And that's what the blue check used to be for. Remember when that used to mean something?
I used to have a blue check, and I will not pay for it. I won't.
Yeah, the $15 a month or what's
It means nothing now.
Yeah.
It means I have $15. Oh, big deal.
And before, people didn't even verify that, right? Where people, you would see a tweet from a name that you kind of recognize and you see the image. And so then it's like, oh my gosh, did you hear that this person said this about this coming out? So it's just a world of things that we don't know. Hopefully this leads to, a little bit more policing, but we'll find out.
Well, this news story in general is at least a step in the right direction for people and causes fighting misinformation. Mozilla is very forward on stopping misinformation and scams as best they can. And there's things you can do like check out the URL, check out the source. Maybe the check mark doesn't matter as much as you think it does.
Yeah.
So I have an example of this. I was looking for supplementary information for a piece I was working on for work. It was a news story, and I was trying to find who had said an adage that was in support of one side of this conversation that I was reporting on. And I only found one website that was like, yes, this corporation is the savior of all.
Yeah.
And I looked into it, and the website was not a real news website. And the person who wrote it was not a real person because she wrote everything on the website, and she writes hundreds of articles a day. And when I went to her social media, it was weird.
And that just keeps getting fed and fed and fed.
It was like dead internet. It was it was a fake person posting fake things in a weird way that didn't really feel human at all. It was strange. So you do need to do a little bit of vetting when you're looking at your sources for, is this true or is this not true?
You can end up going into such a deep rabbit hole with these things, especially after you kind of consume something once, whether you kind of continue down that linkage or not, you've touched it once. Now, the next time you go for that search, I feel like it's just always going to pop up again because they know, oh, this person will click on this.
Well, on YouTube, for sure. Like, if you want to watch a certain kind of video, you're going to get more of that. You're going to get feedback that feeds that. It wants you to feel good about a certain thing so that you keep following that path.
Yep.
So OpenAI has built an AI to critique its AI. There's too many AIs.
Yeah. How many AIs before the AI is?
2.
Yeah.
And a person, I think. So this is a step in the right direction. We're getting more accountability for the responses that AI comes up with. However, I can't help but wonder, is this enough? Because there are humans involved in training the AI that critiques the other AI.
So kind of to try to explain what's happening here, there's always an AI model, right? You put in a request, hey, what's the weather? And sometimes it may just shoot out the weather of a different state you're in. So kind of what they're building is a way to run that scenario, let's say 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 times. But instead of the person doing it over and over and over again, it's now technically an AI bot. So it's a little strange, right? You're supporting something that may be misfactual with something else that may be misfactual, but the goal is to kind of just get it to a little bit more, a higher percentage of accuracy.
Sure, that's always the goal, to get it to higher accuracy, but it's kind of like, who's policing the police and who's AIing the AI?
Yeah.
I feel that it is a good step.
Right.
But there does need to be some kind of human intervention, because every response and every query is going to be a little different. And does it have that power yet to understand minute differences in what their request is, what they're being asked for, what is a wrong response, what is a hallucination? Hallucinations, if you don't know, are basically when the AI makes up an answer. So if you ask, when is Taylor Swift performing? And it says, apples are good. That's really not what you asked for at all. It kind of just made up a response.
Yeah.
The music industry has been alleging massive copyright violation on behalf of their artists whose songs have been used without their consent, without their permission, for the purposes of training AI, and perhaps being used in other ways that they might not approve of.
Yeah, kind of like how we were talking about, where we want to protect the artists. You know, last week we talked a lot about voiceover work. This week it's a lot of focus on the music industry. If I hear a Taylor Swift, let's say she's playing the guitar on an album, and I hear a different song, or I want to create my own song, I can now take that and put it on my song. And that's what it's kind of trying to make sure that does not happen.
But did you get her permission?
Exactly.
Did you ask?
Right. Exactly. For the smaller creator that can't afford the sample from Taylor Swift, this is what's happening. And so the big music companies are trying to protect their artists in making sure that this kind of practice
Well,
isn't
I think
happening.
it's to make sure that their art is used in the way it was intended, and not maybe warped or manipulated in ways that go against what they feel even.
Yeah. And the proper person is getting the credit.
Okay, what an episode, but we finally reached the end of our talk about misinformation and what you can do to combat it and overcome it, hopefully. And please be sure to subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Download Firefox because you know it's the best, and we'll see you next time.